Today is Thursday, July 15th. We'll tell you about the latest multi-trillion-dollar proposal in Washington, what's included, and what are the chances it will become law. Also, a painful record hit in the U.S., why experts think overdose deaths are up so much, and what's being done to help. Plus, a medical breakthrough that involves a sort of mind reading, how a judge gave Britney Spears reason to celebrate, and why a lot of parents are going to want to check their bank accounts today. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in about 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Lacey Evans, filling in for Erica Mandy during her maternity leave. You ready? Let's do this. Congressional Democrats are pushing a new budget that tackles everything from climate change to education to healthcare to income inequality and more. And if every Democrat gets on board, they actually won't need Republican support at all, since spending bills only need 51 votes in the Senate, which the Dems have. Other bills require more compromising, since they need 60 votes to pass. Still, it might be tough to get all the Dems on board with this package, since it's a pretty big one. It's worth $3.5 trillion. Here are some of the highlights. On education, it calls for universal pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds. It also helps lower-income college students by increasing the Pell Grant. To help with income inequality, it sets aside more money for things like paid family and medical leave and affordable housing. On healthcare, it would expand Medicare to cover dental, vision, and hearing services for seniors. When it comes to climate change, the proposal would give more funding for clean energy, wildfire prevention, and more. And that's just to name a few of the sticking points. To pay for it all, the Senate Democrats want to raise corporate and international taxes. They are also talking about raising taxes on the richest Americans. But so far, they haven't agreed on exactly which income brackets would be hit or how much more they'll have to pay. For sure, the Dems have said they won't increase taxes on families who make less than $400,000 a year, small businesses, or family farms. Democratic leaders like Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and President Biden are promoting this plan now. Some more moderate Democrats say they need to read full details of the plan before commenting on it. But in the past, they've been hesitant to spend too much money since they're concerned about the nation's debt. Republicans are overwhelmingly against it, saying such a large package could make inflation worse and that raising corporate taxes could hurt the economy overall. So this plan still has some hurdles to cross before it becomes law. The Senate wants to vote on this proposal, as well as a bipartisan infrastructure package, before the August recess. Stay tuned. A government watchdog is now criticizing the FBI for how it handled sexual abuse allegations in the USA Gymnastics program. The Justice Department's Inspector General, who looks out for any misconduct, says the FBI made fundamental errors investigating Larry Nassar. Remember, Nassar is serving what amounts to life in prison for sexually abusing hundreds of women and girls, including the majority of the last 2 U.S. women's Olympic gymnastics teams. Well, now the new report says the FBI didn't treat the case with enough seriousness, that USA Gymnastics reported allegations to the FBI more than a year before the FBI finally took action. And in that time, dozens more athletes were molested. But the FBI didn't respond until after a newspaper report by the Indianapolis Star detailed Nassar's abuse. Now, the FBI says, quote, "This should not have happened." It called the actions and inactions of its employees inexcusable, that they won't happen again, and that those employees don't work for the FBI anymore. Still, some lawmakers are calling for them to be held more accountable. To be continued. Sadly, it seems an epidemic is getting worse here in the U.S., killing tens of thousands of Americans just last year. And we're not talking about COVID-19. The CDC says drug overdose deaths rose nearly 30% in 2020 to a record 93,000. That's the largest single-year increase ever recorded. Officials say it was driven by overdoses of the dangerously powerful opioid fentanyl. It was developed to treat intense pain from things like cancer, but is now often sold on the streets and is mixed with other drugs. Deaths from methamphetamine and cocaine overdoses also rose. It's not clear how many more Americans started using drugs last year. Some experts think it's possible the rise in deaths were from people who were already struggling with addiction, and the pandemic and isolation and trauma that came with it just made things worse. So now, many state and local governments are trying to address the problem. They are suing opioid manufacturers and distributors, and many plan to use settlement money to pay for treatment and prevention programs. It's a medical first. A new device is helping a paralyzed man communicate. Scientists at UC San Francisco developed a brain implant that can translate thoughts into written words. The team has been testing the technology for more than a year now. The researchers have been working with a patient who lost the ability to speak when he had a stroke more than 15 years ago. In each trial, they attach electrodes to the man's brain and connect them to a computer. When the patient tries to speak, the electrodes fire off a signal. If the computer recognizes what he's trying to say, the words show up on the screen. When they first started these experiments, the computer got it right about half the time. The team then enhanced the computer with the same type of autocorrect technology we all use on our smartphones. Once that feature was added, the machine's accuracy went up. Still, the technology has a long way to go. The team was working with a list of just 50 words during these early tests to form simple sentences. But researchers are hopeful, saying this type of technology could one day dramatically improve the lives of patients with severe brain injuries or other conditions. Much more news ahead, but first, your main host, Erica Mandy, explains why she loves our sponsor, Ritual.
Of course, I hope this podcast is part of your daily routine, but I have another recommendation for you to add to your everyday as well, and that is Ritual vitamins. I take them every morning without fail, and I love that I can change which Ritual vitamin I take based on the life stage I'm in at the time. So I started with Ritual's multivitamin for women, then I switched to their prenatal vitamin once I got pregnant, and now I'm taking the postnatal. In fact, Ritual is available for women, men, and teens. Each one is scientifically developed to help support different people and different life stages. The best part? You will never find sugars, GMOs, major allergens, synthetic fillers, or artificial colorants in Ritual's products. Ritual has a one-of-a-kind visible supply chain, so you always know what nutrients you're taking and where they came from. Get key nutrients without the BS. And Ritual is offering the Newsworthy listeners 10% off during your first 3 months. Just visit ritual.com/newsworthy to start your Ritual today. If you don't love Ritual within your first month, they'll refund your first order. Again, go to ritual.com/newsworthy for 10% off during your first 3 months.
If you need to renew your passport, you'll have to get in a very long line. The State Department says there's a severe backlog right now. There are up to 2 million passport applications waiting to be processed. Officials say they're seeing more applications than usual. Of course, that's because as pandemic restrictions ease and vaccination rates go up, more Americans are looking to travel overseas. And in the last year, when things were locked down, no one was getting their passports renewed, so there's a backlog. The typical waiting period for a passport used to be about 6 weeks. But right now, people may have to wait more than 4 months for a new passport. Officials say they're hiring extra staff members to help clear the backlog. By the way, we should mention the department still has travel advisories in place for most countries. Britney Spears scored a win in her conservatorship case yesterday. The judge allowed the pop star to hire her own lawyer. Until now, she's been represented by a court-appointed attorney. Spears' new lawyer is former federal prosecutor Matthew Rosengart. His former clients have included celebrities like Steven Spielberg and Sean Penn. And on Britney's case, Rosengart wasted no time getting started. He immediately demanded her father, Jamie, resign as her conservator. Jamie Spears' lawyer says he has no intention of stepping down, and he's repeatedly insisted he has looked out for his daughter's best interests. But Britney disagrees. In court yesterday, she said she wants to charge her father with conservatorship abuse. She asked the judge to end the conservatorship altogether, but that she doesn't want to be put through any mental evaluations in the process. Britney's lawyer also said he would question whether she ever needed to be under the control of a conservator in the first place. The legal arrangement, meant to control Britney's finances and other parts of her life, has been in place since 2008. Shortly after yesterday's hearing, Britney posted video of herself horseback riding and doing cartwheels with the hashtag #FreeBritney. Facebook plans to give out $1 billion to entice social media influencers to create content specifically for Facebook and Instagram. As Forbes reports, social media stars will earn money through ad revenue and bonuses over the next year and a half. In some cases, Facebook will even offer startup funding to help influencers launch new accounts on the sites. Facebook hasn't said how many creators it plans to pay, but right now, the company is picking out star influencers and inviting them to participate. Facebook's $1 billion investment is part of a larger trend in the social media industry. TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, and YouTube all have strategies aimed at helping influencers earn money from the platforms. We're just 8 days away from the start of the Olympics, and Team USA is setting records before the competition even starts. There are more women on this Olympic team than ever before, a total of 338. No other country has ever sent this many women athletes to the Olympics before. Women make up 54% of Team USA, which includes 627 athletes in total headed to Tokyo. It's the second largest roster in Team USA's history. The Olympics kick off next Friday. And by the way, when the medals start getting handed out, the ceremonies will look different from years past. Athletes will put the medals on themselves. This is one of many measures in place to guard against spreading COVID-19. There also won't be any handshakes or hugs allowed during medal ceremonies. That's it for the main news today. So now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. Today, we're talking about a new tax credit to help families with children and whether your family is eligible for direct payments. But first, here's Erica again with a message from our sponsor, Policy Genius.
Erica here, and our new baby boy Dax relies on us for all kinds of support, including, of course, financial support. So that has me thinking more than ever about life insurance. You probably know that if someone relies on you for financial support, whether it's a child, aging parent, or even a business partner, having life insurance to make sure they're taken care of after your death is important. But I also don't want to spend more than I have to on a plan. Well, with Policy Genius, you can compare quotes from more than a dozen top insurers in one convenient place. And comparing can go a long way. You can save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. And you could save $1,300 or more per year on life insurance by using Policy Genius to compare those policies. In just minutes, you can work out how much coverage you need and then find your best price. And get this, the Policy Genius team will handle the paperwork and scheduling for free. So head to policygenius.com to get started right now. Policy Genius. When it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. That's policygenius.com.
Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. More than 36 million American families will start seeing extra money in their bank accounts today. The IRS is sending out the first round of payments that are part of the expanded child tax credit. The average family will get about $3,000 total for each child. That's a big increase since the usual child tax credit is up to $2,000 for each child. People won't get all the money at once, though. Families with children under age 6 will get up to $300 per child every month. For children between 6 and 17, it's $250. And there is no limit on the number of children. Everyone qualifies except the most affluent families. For parents who file taxes as a single person, the cap is $112,000 a year. It's $150,000 for married couples who file their taxes together. People with higher incomes will get smaller payments. The extra money will come every month until the end of this year, either through a direct deposit or a check in the mail. The rest of the tax credit can be claimed as a tax refund next year. As the New York Times reports, nearly 90% of all American children have parents who qualify for the tax credit. Bipartisan experts predict the payments could cut child poverty in half. However, some critics have said not everyone who's getting these payments really needs them, so they believe at least some of the money is going to waste. Still, Congress approved the expanded child tax credit as part of the last relief package in March. And that's your Thing to Know today. Thanks for listening and making the newsworthy part of your routine. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.